That is with an existing condition of 0 traffic from this property. There are currently, and someone pointed out that existing building. So there are currently residential units on this property. So I suspect that 2% would actually be lessened in the actual study, which is happening as we speak. I mean, currently, right? So they took a delta between 0 and what's projected. I think that current is actually not 0 because there are residents on that property. So the units on that property are already generating traffic. So I think the impact would be less than the 2% that they're suggesting. That's my input to traffic. Some of the concerns, and I hate to just keep going to Doug, but some of the traffic concerns I think might be city concerns that aren't necessarily tied to this project. So having a hard time turning into Kirtland off of Temple View currently. There were a lot of concerns with current traffic. Those are maybe concerns that the public wanted y'all to hear, but this project may not impact. Doug, can you give a little bit of summary of what is current sewer capacity? This just someone mentioned they were talking about Alpin Rose sewer. Can you talk a little bit about what is current capacity, what this project would impact as far as total capacity?
I believe where we stand in the 306 sewer as far as excess capacity goes after the Old Town Sewer project is done is somewhere around 75,000 remaining, 75,000 gallons per day remaining in the 306 sewer after Old Town is finished. And I think this development contributes, Dusty, was it about 20? 12. Yeah, 400 gallons per day per home times 31.
Yeah. So someone was asking about future capacity and stuff. I just wanted that. So out of 70,000 available gallons, this project would consume about 12.
Okay.
Is that fair?
I think so. Yeah, there's plenty of excess capacity in the 306 sewer now. What I can't speak to is what happened with the Alpin Rose development and why they were told no, they can't tie in.
Yeah, no, I was just, someone mentioned thinking for the future, and I just wanted to address what capacity is still existing. So 70,000 currently available, we would ask for 12,000. Property values, again, a goal here, I mean, we would stay in the community. I think I've hit a lot of points a few times, but the goal would be for property values in this area to go up with a community like this being put in place. And then one gentleman here at the end mentioned topography. There are a lot of ravines. They're substantial. Those ravines are not in the footprint of this project. They are behind the project. So if you go back to when I mentioned that the east part of the property would remain natural wooded land, that's where those ravines are. So there's not substantial mass grading that would be required on this part of the project to make it happen. I just wanted to alleviate the concern about how you would navigate those ravines. They are not part of the project. Do y'all have any other questions written down that I didn't address from the public? I think I tried to tackle all of them.
Per your just last comment with the ravines, obviously you have 30 properties at a quarter acre each approximately, so you're using 8 acres of the 14 total then? Is that what's being used on the property approximately?
I think it's a little bit more than that. Dusty, do you have I can actually.
The roadway is in, yeah, too.
So I think it's probably fair to say about half. So 24 of 29, or sorry, 14 of 29.
14 of 29, okay.
I think that's rough numbers, but
14 is the correct number.
14 is correct?
Yes.
So yeah, 14 of 29. That might be an acre or so off, but
questions from council? Any other questions? Thank you.
So- Mr. Council President, so if, for all intents and purposes, you are done with the public hearing, you have the option, really, you have two things that can be done. One, you can ask that it be tabled until the next meeting, just that you could deliberate a little bit longer, if you could come up with more questions or whatever it may be. Or you can close the public hearing and vote tonight.
Where do you guys stand on that? Myself, I would like a few more questions answered myself, but where do you guys stand? Would you like it tabled? Going on the next?
I guess table it.
All right, so that being the case, if it's okay with Mr. Pajorn, I would ask Mr. Pajorn to ask council to table to next meeting.
Would y'all be willing to table it? Well, yeah, would council
Yeah.
be willing to table this till the next meeting, which is,
5/6, correct?
Yes.
5/6.
Yeah, Monday, April 6th at 7 p.m.
May 6th.
May 6th, sorry. I don't know what I said.
I make a motion to table this zoning proposal change till May 6th,
Per-
7 p.m.
Per the request of the applicant.
per the request of the applicant.
A second.
Is there a discussion on the
questions?
motion?
Discussions on that? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
Yes.
All right,
can I
so-
just ask one question?
Yeah.
So would you, and I guess it's up to you.
So the public hearing's still going to open up or resume at the next meeting. You'll have an opportunity to speak again at the next meeting. They can ask questions. So they'll have an opportunity to kind of digest everything that's been discussed today, both by you and the residents. And they could also come up with other questions that they might have not have had an opportunity to think of until, the next meeting. And at that point, they could resume the discourse with you. And then at some point,
Council,
the public hearing will close and there'll be a vote.
Mr. Lalo, is it possible that we could obtain his contact information?
Absolutely.
That was my question, is communication between now and then, if y'all wanted to meet or talk or have a
Yes,
call?
that is permissible. That is permissible so long as it's not a quorum of council members and it's not round robining. And what I would say, if they're just asking you simple questions and things like that, or if you're going to meet with one or two of them, that's fine. What you can't do is an end around for public meetings, okay? And what that would be is you're going to sit down with two at this date and time, and then another time you're going to sit down with the other two, and then another two, right? And that would be a round robin. You're not allowed to do that. So
If y'all have any questions, I'll try to answer them via email or phone call as soon as I can.
there you go. Yeah. I mean, when in doubt, Mr. Pajorn, when in doubt, just reach out.
Mr. Lala, would you almost recommend just council email any questions directly to them to be addressed?
Yeah.
Mr. Lalo, also, that the same goes then for the residents, right? They can reach out to their council people as well.
Absolutely. The residents can definitely reach out to the council members. The only thing I would say is that at the next public hearing, because we closed off the public portion, no other public are going to be permitted to speak at that, aside from the applicant and council going through it. So if the residents do have questions or concerns that weren't addressed, then they should reach out to council so that they can kind of relay those questions.
I personally would just like to thank everybody that came out tonight to ask the questions, to speak on behalf of their opinions. This is kind of what it's all about, to see this kind of public discourse and dialogue. The fundamental question as I see it is, Kirtland has historic town center zoning that stops around Russellhurst. And does this extend that a little bit further? And I think that's the question for council ultimately. And I think, again, I just appreciate the residents coming out, asking the questions. Please feel free to reach out to the council members as well. And Mr. Pajorn, again, you guys have been at this for about 1.5 years now, I think. And every time you've come to planning and zoning, or every time we've spoken, it's always been, I truly believe your best intentions are at hand here. So thank thank you, and thanks everybody here, and thanks for council.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again, all of y'all. I haven't met with y'all before, but the public that's here and that's been to a couple of these, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
And at this point, actually, we won't be discussing this anymore. If you don't want to be bored with the rest of the meeting, you can leave. If you want to sit around and watch the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome.
No, I think they need to stay. What are you doing?
Lock the doors.
Hey, I was wondering.
This is the little person talking about, and this is the.
Yeah.
You don't.
Well, I've been on a lot of I'm on a ravine too, so I don't know how this ends. Okay.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you.
This is not typical.
Hey, somebody took my hammer. Okay. We'll continue with the meeting now. Everybody who's going to stay, and everybody who needs to go. There's the door. Don't let it hitch on the way out. Who took my hammer? Who took Molnar? Doris Molnar.
President Smolik? President Smolik? I just want to let council know the feed did cut out at one point. YouTube was mad at us. So if any residents are asking, there's a second video tonight that's called City Council Continued, which is streaming right now. So there is a few minutes that were lost on the YouTube feed, but we are up and streaming on a second video tonight.
Thank you much, Ms. Sari.
Thank you.
Okay, with the public hearing being closed, and we're on to the
Tabled.
Public hearing being tabled.
being tabled, I should say. We are on to the rest of the meeting, and with that, the reading and approval of the minutes of the April 3rd, 2024 work session. Looking for a motion in a second.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
That was Ron and Julie. Oh, thank you. My hammer. Any discussions? Any discussion on the meetings, minutes? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
To the minutes of the April 2nd, 2024 council meeting. Looking for a motion.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ron and Julie, thank you. Any discussion changes on those minutes? Ms. Raleigh?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Abstain?
Okay, on to department reports, and Mr. Chief Hutton emailed me earlier. He had to go over to the, I believe, high school or the school. They were doing something over there today, getting some awards or some presentations.
Correct, and Chief McAllister, the same thing, so
Okay.
I told him not to worry about coming back.
Okay, so they will not be here today. So we go on to Mr. Fernaro. You're number one today.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to try to extend this as long as I can. It'll probably be my longest report of the year. So appreciate that. Making sure you're awake. So just a couple quick updates on the rainfall we had. So we put monitors in the river last year. I'm sure everybody's aware. Last week we had 2.37 inches of snow and rain combined. Last week, 2.67. So we're trying to keep up with grass cutting. Obviously, we're going to be a little bit behind because if no one's noticed, it's been pretty wet. Saturday, 8 o'clock, right here at City Hall, Great American Cleanup. We would really love some volunteers to show up. We're going to do some roadside cleanups, and that'll complete my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fernaro. Any questions from Mr. Fernaro?
Mr. Fenner, I just want to personally congratulate you on the award you received this past week. Public service, as you and I know, is trying at times, but you really have a heart, and it's very awesome that you were recognized by so many different people. So I wanted to publicly state that. Thank you for your service here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Fernaro, per that 5.2 inches or whatever of rain, did we have any washouts on any roads or any drainage issues?
We did, but we fared pretty good. So just a couple little minor issues, nothing like in the past. So
Okay.
I think we're gaining on it.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Fernaro? Mr. Courtney?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Quick report. A few updates. 2024 streets, the plans for the road work are in progress. We expect to be ready to advertise in the first half of May, depending on when we receive the results of the pavement testing. Old Town Phase 2 is progressing. The contractor is about 75% complete with Caudry Street. And they're beginning service lateral installations on Maple Street. 306 Bridge Project, we did have a progress meeting on the 9th. There was not much to report at that meeting as they're just getting started. I think they're just getting ready to do some demolition work, so not much going on there yet. And no updates on the Bruce Road Bridge from the county engineer. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. Any questions for Mr. Courtney?
Mr. Courtney, when you have a chance, could you get back to me with that email that I had sent regarding,
Yes,
You responded back. Did you catch it today?
oh, no,
I responded back this evening,
about 12
apologizing
o'clock.
because
I forgot my
it dropped off the screen and I forgot about it. I apologize.
Hook up with them afterwards. I think you might have something.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Courtney? Mr. Slapnicker?
Thank you, Council President. We had our first road funding meeting for 2024 this evening. Looks like we will be having an additional meeting in regards to that at our next first Monday in May. We are progressing through our gap conversion for our basic financial statements, and we have our audit entrance conference tomorrow. So I'll be attending that with the Auditor of State. In regards to the legislation that's on the agenda, we do have my contract on here for a renewal. There are no changes in my contract, but again, my current one expires April 30th of this month. You do see a new resolution for transfer of funds. That should look pretty familiar to you because we had that on the agenda with the budget. In our haste, when we had our last finance committee meeting, right before we amended, not amended, but when we changed the original budget, there was a 1 penny rounding error in that transfer of funds. So when you compare the transfers in the appropriation ordinance, it needs to match exactly within the transfer ordinance. So there is a 1 penny change. So I am requesting that that be passed this evening. With that, that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Slapnicker. Any questions for Lewis? Thank you, Lewis. On to Mr. Lallo.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just one bit of an update with the appeal of the planning and zoning decision that was in court. We did win on that administratively at the common pleas level. That was appealed. Briefing, I just filed the city's brief today, so we should, I know they have 10 days to file a reply, but then after that, it's up to the Court of Appeals. So that's moving along in that process. I have no other updates on any of the real litigation or any other issues. I know Mr. Scholes brought to my attention before the meeting, I had an error, a typo in 24R30 in one of the whereas clauses. We're going to need a motion to modify that clause to delete Pheasant Lane and insert Quail Circle in its place in the 6th whereas clause. I'll prompt you when we get there.
Okay.
But aside from that, I have nothing to add unless you have questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Lallo. Any questions for Matt?
Mr. Lallo, do you know if the state has provided any updates on the marijuana depository? And,
For like
funding?
banks,
Yeah,
to the best of my knowledge, no, nothing yet.
nothing out of the State House. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt. Ms. Zeri?
Good evening, Council. I have no official report tonight, but I'm open for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Zeri? Thank you, Teresa. Mayor Potter?
In the spirit of moving things along, I'm going to say just about the same thing, although I would ask that anybody that's available for the cleanup this weekend, not only is it all the help needed, but it really is a great time to see the community out at work, working alongside the roadways, picking up trash and litter. You actually wouldn't believe how much there is. We're not like other communities, thank goodness, and what we see along our roadways, but it is astounding how much there can be. So anybody that can come out this weekend for that, and the following weekend we do have our senior yard cleanup, seniors and veterans. So anybody that can help volunteer for that as well, much appreciated. Other than that, I am open for questions. Oh, and I did want to say that Eddie Eckert will be here at our next meeting for an update and report.
What was that again, Mayor?
Eddie Eckert will be here at our next meeting for an update and report.
Thank you.
Mayor, is there anything that the cruiser, does that need to pass tonight?
Thank you. I would ask, I would defer to Mr. Finaro on that. I mean, you know, so as part of the budget, we certainly included a police cruiser. This isn't new news. So I guess I would say it's probably more up to you guys what you feel comfortable with. But again, this is pretty much in line with what was presented throughout our budget process. As far as the other ordinances and resolutions, I would, I think I would ask that if we could pass all of them tonight, certainly the transfer funds, certainly most importantly, Lewis's contract, but then the understanding, memorandum of understanding for the culverts, helpful again, Lake County Commissioners, more culverts. As far as the chipper goes, I think Mr. Finaro would say, please. The chipper is on its last leg.
We got to get that out for the last 2 weeks, hopefully, right?
It's a brush pickup, and we could really use that chipper, please.
So how's that for an answer, Mr. Fencermaker?
That's good, thank you.
Any questions for the mayor? And the brush pickup, or not the brush pickup, but the city cleanup's always fun. It's always nice doing it without an armed guard usually standing over me, like I usually have to do it, but
Say again?
never mind.
Maybe don't say again.
Any other questions for the mayor?
Take his hammer away from him.
Any other questions then? Thank you, Mayor Powder. Okay, on to standing committee reports. What do we have going on, guys? You have anything coming up?
We need to have a utilities commission meeting. We want to change things up and have a commission meeting prior to our field trip meetings.
What date were we thinking? Councilman Hamer?
You know,
Are we committee or commission?
commission,
Commission, okay.
the big one.
Then you guys set that date next month, I would say, right? And perhaps we don't have to sort it out now, but, you know, maybe in the next day or two, we can discuss.
Get
Because
it.
again, that's going to be myself, the finance director, public works director, city engineer, city council president,
And
and a designee.
Mr. Hamer was
Assuming
assigned for
that
that.
would be Mr. Hamer. Don't know if the law director is required, but whatever. But we'll have to
Yeah.
coalesce around a date.
Not required on my end, but I know Mr. Scholes brought up the last discussion was to invite a conversation with the residents to discuss the need. Yes?
We decided to switch that up.
Okay.
So we thought it'd make more sense to go to the commission, let that get out, and then I think we'll have more involvement from the residents having the open house after.
Okay.
So because they're all going to get notice, official public notice, right, at that point. So it should inspire them to, we think, more of them to come to that commission meeting, introduce the topics and the concerns that'll likely have financial implications, and then from that point, have those on-site meetings with the public so they can see their package plans at work, and then come back to a commission meeting later, a follow-up one, when we, have more of the information.
Mayor, Mr. Finaro, are they contacted via letter or?
They'll get a letter from the city.
They'll
Yep.
get a letter, okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so Scott, you'll do a email out just to kind of get everybody on the same page then?
Yes.
Get a date, thank you. Do we have anything police and fire-wise? You finished that? You had
I
that
still
one?
owe you guys some meeting minutes.
Okay, that's great.
And Chief Hutton had two estimates that are very close. It's not the exact thing because there was some change of specs that were found. Mr. Ziegler and I met with Mr. Slepnicker, and we felt that since the committee made the recommendation to move forward with that purchase, now it should be part of a finance committee to look
Okay.
at the
Which we're going to do with the next time
finances
that we brought up
of
the other-
that deal, right? So,
Okay. Which we mentioned for the next finance meeting, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
on top of the road, well, I won't speak for Mr. Ziegler, but on top of road funding as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Schultz. Was there anything else then? Nothing service department wise? Okay. Let's see, on to correspondence. I don't believe I saw any correspondence, Ms. Rowley?
Anyone correspondence from council to Mr. Leslie
Okay.
regarding rates?
Oh.
Just to mention, there is a concern that we're
with,
not getting the best deal for our residents from them. Yeah, we can definitely, I'm just bringing it up. We did have that correspondence with conversations regarding that. Then it's probably something the council should look into a little further.
Mr. Lallo, should I read that if there?
There's no need to read it.
Pardon?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to public comments on matters not on the agenda? None at this time? On to old business, which there's none? On to new business. Any public comments on agenda items of new business? Time we open it up to the public? Not at this time? On to resolution number 24-R-27, a resolution amending resolution number 24-R-11, authorizing transfers of funds and declaring an emergency. I believe-
Motion to waive the 3 readings?
Thank you. Any discussion on this? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons, Mr. Ziegler, Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes,
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Okay. Now we need a motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
yes,
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Thank you. On to resolution number 24-R-28, a resolution confirming the reappointment of Louis Slapnicker as the part-time finance director for the city of Kirtland pursuant to contract and to the extent of his contractual arrangement only, and declaring an emergency. As Louis mentioned before, it's the same contract from last year, correct?
Motion to waive the 3 reading.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Julie with the second. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yeah.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
yes,
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
We need a,
To declare an emergency and adopt.
second,
thank you. That was Eric and Mr. Fenstermaker. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
yes,
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Resolution number 24-R-29, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Board of Lake County Commissioners through the Lake County Department of Utilities, Stormwater Management Division, relating to funding and/or pre-funding for the Pheasant Lane culvert replacement and declaring an emergency. And we wanted that one to be waived today, sir, or no?
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Julie. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
yes,
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Motion to declare and to adopt, emergency and adopt.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt. Second.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Sue. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes?
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Okay, on to resolution number 24-R-30, and,
You first read it.
okay. Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Board of Lake County Commissioners through the Lake County Department of Utilities, Stormwater Management Division, relating to funding and/or pre-funding for the Quail Circle culvert replacement and declaring an emergency. Now we
Thank
need
you. And this is where I would ask that a council member make a motion to modify the 6th whereas clause to delete Pheasant Lane and insert Quail Circle in its place.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Now we go with the waive the 3 readings.
Now, a motion to waive the 3 readings on this one.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Now we need a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Ron. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Thank you. On to ordinance number 24-0-31, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract to purchase one Bandit Intimidator, that 15 XP?
Yes.
Chipper from KTS Equipment Incorporated and declaring an emergency. Looking for a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Now we're looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Julie, thank you, Ron. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
I don't want you Fargoing anybody with this thing, okay, Mr. Fenaro? On to resolution number 24-R-32, a resolution authorizing the mayor to purchase one new 2024 Ford four-door all-wheel drive Interceptor utility police vehicle for use by the police department and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Sue. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
You're looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt?
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt. Second.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Sue. Any discussion? Ms. Rowley?
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Okay, that does it for the resolutions. On to council comments. Any council comments at this time? Any continuing concerns? Looking for an adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.